Yo, what's up guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to talk about cross-training. I've been getting comments on my radiology videos, and one of them in particular was cross-training. How do you cross-train? Is cross-train possible? So just answer the question, yes and yes, you can get cross-trained. So check this out. So whenever you first go to radiology school, whatever, you become a tech, it depends what that particular hospital you work for is in need, because every hospital and every radiology department is in need of something. They can be in need of they could be in need of ultrasound techs, they can be in need of nuclear medicine techs, they can be in need of CT techs, which is a lot of the cases. CT techs are so shortage right now. So CT is a big one, MRI, what else can you do? I think those are the three main ones that you can possibly cross-train in. So, like I said, it depends what hospitals you work at. So basically, if you work in a small hospital that, they do both CT. Well, let's put it this way: every hospital you work at, every hospital, no matter where you are, once you become an RT, 99% of the time, they're gonna want you to cross train in CT, because CT is one of those modalities that it's a emergency department modality. So basically saying that anything that comes to the ER door is going to get an X-ray or a CT, 99.9%, no matter what. MRIs, they don't always get something from the ER. Ultrasounds, they'll get something from the ER, and but 99.9%, your go-to modalities is always X-ray, of course, because that's the foundation, and then the ER will abuse CT all day, no matter what hospital you're in. So CTs are always in demand. They're always going to be needed for cross training, and so that's the thing. Like if you work in a small hospital, you'll get cross trained in certain modalities. So that's a little easier to be like, hey, it's not too busy right now on X-ray. Can I go learn CT, or can I go learn MRI? And 99% of the time, I'll be like, yeah, sure, you can go. But when you're in the bigger hospitals, it's hard to do that because you're so busy in the X-ray that it's hard for them to be like, oh yeah, you can go train in CT. Oh yeah, you can go train in MRI. Like it's just, you're so busy doing what you got to do, whether you're doing regular X-rays, ER X-rays, outpatient X-rays, fluoro, OR cases in the OR. You can be in OR for hours or all day. So it depends. Bigger hospitals are always harder to cross-train. But there's always a possibility. Like I said, if you go to even to the bigger hospitals, it'll be like, hey, I want to do CT. 90% of the time, they'll be like, sure, we need you to learn CT, because CT is one of those modalities, like I said, that is very, very needed. And you're always going to need CT techs regardless. Because for one, man, CT's on a rise. Every hospital you go to, man, you're going to go for a headache, you're going to get a CAT scan without. Possibly with and without, depends. You got shortness of breath, you're gonna get a CT, PE protocol. Make sure there's no clots in your lungs. So everything revolves so much around CT right now that the CT techs are the most possibility of being cross-trained in a modality. Now, as far as like any other modalities like MRI and ultrasound, those are kind of hard to get cross-trained in because of the fact that you just don't have the time. So let's say you do get in a hospital, right? And they're like, yeah, we're going to cross-train you in MRI, right? The only problem with cross-training at a hospital is that you would have to wait till you get all your, like you do an X-ray. I'm talking to like X-ray techs or whatever, even students, I guess. There's a comps, when you go to school, you're like, oh, I got to comp the knee, I got to comp the leg, I got to comp the shoulder. There's comps, right? So same thing with CT. You have to do your comps, so you can send it to the AART. That way they can mark you off and be like, okay, yeah, they're ready to take the registry, basically. So the tech that's training you has to be like, okay, well, oh, they did an MRI without, okay, let me mark them off. They did it by themselves. Oh, they did a whatever by themselves. And I think it's 125 in CT. MRI, I'm not sure. But you got to think about it, right? So when you're working, say you're in a busy hospital, you'll get all your comps at a busy hospital, because like I said, it's busy. You're gonna see all kind of exams, so you'll get everything checked off the way you're supposed to. Now, if you work in a smaller hospital and be like, yeah, I want to cross train, what can take you in a bigger hospital like 6 months to get, and a small hospital possibly take you a year. And the problem with that, I think you got 2 year window. So the problem with that is that, say for some reason in 2 years you don't get all the exams you do, you have to, say it overlaps, right? Say you have to do 3 brains. Say you do a brain today, and you only got 2 brains to the end of the year, to the end of the 2 years, and you're like, oh man, you know what? If I don't get a brain done, I'm gonna have to erase one. So basically, you got to keep the most recent one. So if 2 years passes by, you basically have to erase that exam and kind of wait for another one. That's the only downfall about cross training if you want to get certified, is the fact that you won't possibly get all the comps that you need in order to sit for the registry. That's the only hard part. So, but there is schooling for it. So once you become an RT, you don't even have to have any experience. You can be like, look, I want to go for MRI or CT. There's your state colleges carry it. Sometimes it's 6 months to a year. So every school is different. Now, here in Florida, there's a school in Miami actually that people all around the country go to because I think it's one of its kind. So basically, there's a CT and an MRI program, and they're both 3 months long. And that's where I went for CT myself. So in those 3 months, you're gonna get done with all the schooling you need. You're gonna get and you're gonna get all your comps for you to be ready to sit for the National Registry and AART. So in that school, you'll be automatically all done. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to worry about, going to hospital, doing this, doing that. Like in those 3 months, you can get MRI, you get your MRI and your CT qualifications done in order for you to sit for the registry. Now, when you sit for the registry, like, that's a whole different ballgame. You know what I'm saying? You have to pass your registry to be, legitimately certified as an RT or a CT. RT, CT, and MRI. Just like you can go for radiology school, you go to school for 2 years, then you got to sit for your boards. All those 2 years don't really matter unless you pass your registry. If you don't pass your registry, then all that just, it doesn't matter. So, yeah, man. So you can get cross trained. Like I said, it's a little harder than for you to go to school. I think going to school is easier, and you don't want to put so much pressure on yourself. You know what I mean? But if you go to a hospital that's busy enough, that you're gonna get all your stuff that you need to sit for the registry and your 2 year period, you can do that. If you want to get it faster, you go to school. Like I said, it's between 6 months to a year that you can get certified in. Well, you don't get certified, you get all this stuff for you to take your test to get certified. Taking your test is a whole different ballgame, like I said. But yeah, you could definitely get cross trained, man. There's no issues with that. There's no problem. 99% of hospitals, they need dual modality techs. You know what I mean? So, and some hospitals, honestly, if say you're X-ray and you were like, you know what, like HCA for instance, HCA is a big worldwide corporation. If you're not CT certified, 99.9% they will not let you into that CT room. Because it's liabilities. Not all hospitals are like that, but HCA definitely, if you're not CT certified, you cannot touch that CT machine. If you're not MRI certified, you cannot touch that MRI machine, because it's just a liability that the hospital, takes if something goes wrong. But yeah, guys, I'm gonna start doing more videos on this. So if you have questions, leave them down below. Let me know. As always,